And then our big thing that we're leading up towards is the Feast of Christ the King. It's the annual celebration of World Youth Day, and we're really trying to get it as a marker point in our diocesan calendar for young people. One, for young people to gather together to celebrate youth, to celebrate the fantastic young people that we have within our diocese, and they're phenomenal. And then, but also to network.
Hello and welcome to The Way. I'm Wendy Grace. Well, we're going to be hearing about some really interesting upcoming events specifically aimed at young people, and also about the experience that a group of young pilgrims had in Rome recently. Joined with me in studio to chat about some of this, I have Natalie Doherty, who works in the area of youth work for the Dublin Archdiocese. Well, you're just back from Rome very recently, so this was for the Jubilee of Youth. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about that and the pilgrims that went over from Ireland and your experience.
Yeah, so we had a small delegation of diocesan ambassadors heading over from the Archdiocese. So I had a group of 10 with me, and then there was another parish group from Athy. There was 7 in them, and we headed over for the week. And we took part in the Irish program that happened over in Rome, and that was superb because it meant that all young Irish that were coming from every diocese, different movements and groups could come together to build community.
Make new friends, yeah.
Yeah. I
Was there a moment, Natalie, then it was like, oh, we're not alone. There's actually loads
yeah.
of young people who are into their faith.
Yeah, and that was crucial, and that's why it was so important to have such a program together. We had catechesis from Bishop Barron, Sister Mary Grace, and then our own Bishop Alan McGuckian. There was a phenomenal concert, and evening prayer together that Sarah Kroger performed at the Irish College. But I think sneakily my favourite bit was all the pilgrims that had instruments with them got up onto the stage and kind of did an Irish
A
takeover.
proper hoolie.
Exactly. And it was absolutely electric. Like, never in my bingo cards for the Jubilee in Rome did I think that an encore at a concert of young, like hundreds of young Irish, would be Lady of Knock. But they sang it out like so much that like you could feel it, that it was coming from their heart, that they just weren't singing it, like they were feeling it. So it was so electric. We had mass then in St. Peter's Basilica on the Saturday morning. Archbishop John Kennedy celebrated it. And that was another phenomenal experience because it was a strong Irish voices coming out of St. Peter's. We sang the Arnyaher and we finished with Lady of Knock. Like, there was such a strong Irish stamp coming from, St. Peter's Basilica, that it was really heartening for so many young people who kind of felt, where's the place of the church in society today? Where am I at with my faith? The difficulties that has, that has, but to have such a resounding, strong Irish sound coming out of the Vatican, was phenomenal.
And to put that in context where you're feeling, wow, there is a community here in my home country. I'm really proud of my heritage, my culture, my music that's connected to my faith. But this event, I think for the final mass and the vigil, there was a million
Yeah.
young people from pretty much every country in the world. What type of a moment was that for the pilgrims that you were with and for yourself?
It is a really overwhelming experience, but in a positive, like a goosebump kind of moment, especially the moment of adoration. So in the vigil on the Saturday evening, Pope Leo was there. It was our first, the first major event for Pope Leo. And he walked out to, a million young people in a field that were looking to pray together to be. And there was a time of adoration, as there normally is at these vigils. And to hear that silence of a field of a million young people
Yeah, who moments
coming
before we were
together.
singing, dancing, having a laugh together, and then you can hear a pin drop.
Yeah, and it was that moment of, do you know what? It doesn't matter what language we speak, where we come from. We were all one in that moment. That we were all united, and it was such an overwhelming experience to think that, okay, I may be, by myself or one of a few in my local parish, but together, whether it was just the Irish from, there was 600 young people from Ireland coming together, and then a million in the field for the campsite. Like, it was.
And was the joy palpable?
Oh yeah, like when we came home, I ran into somebody in the offices, and they said, "This is the first time I've seen you where you don't look as if you could sleep for a month." but I was so on fire, like, coming home, and a lot of that was the experience of accompanying our young people, like, they just it was so palpable, it was so infectious that instead of coming home and going, "I really need to sleep as a leader after surviving this," I was like, "Right, we need to get
And
going."
this is after doing an all-night vigil,
Yeah,
sleeping in the fields. So let's
and
make sure.
brilliant.
Oh, did it? I've been to World Youth Days before, and it follows quite a similar program in terms of the night vigil and the catechesis and all that sort of stuff. And you come home, like you said, your exact words, Natalie, you're on fire, you're buzzing, but then you're back to reality. You're back to the real world. So these hundreds of young Irish people come home, probably feeling similar to you, going, "That was amazing. I love my faith," and so, or maybe having had a conversion experience. But then it's back to the day to day where you're back to feeling, "Oh, am I a bit more alone? A lot more alone than I felt at a million other like-minded people."
Yeah.
So where do they go from there? What do they do next?
Yeah, I and you're so right that we come from this high top mountain point and then you go back to your everyday. So and that's one thing that I've been really conscious of within the diocese. I've been to a number of World Youth Days before as a pilgrim, as member of the team, and that kind of connection, that thread of how do we keep things going is so vital. So I suppose one of the key things for them was lining up well what is happening within our locality, within our diocese that you can continue on with. They're great for peer-to-peer ministry that a lot of them came back from Rome and they went to the U2000
The
the
retreat
retreat.
in the summer, yeah.
Yeah, and some of them were volunteering at it. And they were sharing with each other and saying, "This is happening, so why don't you come along?" So first of all, there's peer-to-peer ministry of letting them know well, what's happening in on their own local context. But then we also need to be doing things as a diocese to help gather, to bring, to move people along.
So
So
give us a snapshot of a few things
yeah.
that are happening.
So first thing was the canonization of Carlo Acutis, that, the diocesan events that were happening for that. And then our big thing that we're leading up towards is the Feast of Christ the King. It's the annual celebration of World Youth Day, and we're really trying to get it as a marker point in our diocesan calendar for young people. One, for young people to gather together to celebrate youth, to celebrate the fantastic young people that we have within our diocese, and they're phenomenal. And then, but also to network, to show well what's happening throughout the diocese. The diocese is so large that we need to be making sure that people are aware of the phenomenal stuff that's happening. There's new events coming up. There's prayer groups. There's
There's actually a lot
catechesis.
going on once
Yeah.
you know where to go. So finally, maybe there's a young person watching that has had that experience. They're on fire, or it could be anything. Wow, I saw the canonization of Carlo Acutis, but where do I go? Who do I link in with? Where's the best touch point for them to find out about all this stuff?
Yeah, so I would say contact me, and I can help. I'll sit down a lot with people, and I say, well, where are you? What's your interest in, and who do I know? But then equally, come to November 22nd, and we're going to be advertising it soon across all our social medias, websites, parishes, smoke signals. As much as we can do to get the news out.
Carrier pigeon. Yeah.
And to come along, and to meet like-minded people and to explore and to see everything that's out there. It's going to be a really, really great event. We're just locking in our final speakers before I can advertise it out properly, but it's going to be everywhere. It'll be painted and everywhere. So, how can we get the news out? But definitely come to a day like that and to meet like-minded people.
It's so important. Well, Natalie, thanks so much for joining us today. Thank you for being with us on The Way.